For the Honourable Annette King.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Well, kia ora tātou and welcome back everybody for the Parliament of 2015. And I just want to say it's been a wonderful, long, hot summer break. In fact, it's been an F of a summer break for me and the Labour Party. It's been family, it's been fun, and it's been food for the body and food for the mind. And I have to tell the members opposite, the F story continues, because Labour has come back and we are fighting fit. We are full of fortitude and the winds of good fortune are now blowing our way. And you know, Mr Speaker, you know when you got the government on the run. And you know it because the Prime Minister's statement was more about the Leader of the Opposition than it was about his own achievements, his own vision or his goals. He spent 10 minutes slagging off Andrew Little with a whole series of prepared jokes and pathetic little insults combined, I have to say, with a number of malicious fabrications. Well, Andrew Little scares the hell out of John Key, and he also is scaring the hell out of the National Party, and I can tell you why. Because their polling will be telling them the same as ours is, the same as TV3's is, the same as the New Zealand Herald. It is saying that Andrew Little is making Labour relevant again. He's connecting with New Zealanders. His favourability is rising rapidly. Yes, they are afraid. They've had it too easy for too long. And his message of straight talking, his no-frills approach, going to the heart of the problem and having the guts, Mr Speaker, to talk about the real issues, not hiding behind the window dressing and the candy floss you get from the Prime Minister, talking about jobs and housing, unfairness and the government's double-speak and their arrogance. You know, Mr Speaker, New Zealanders like the cut of his jib. They like the cut of his jib, and increasingly they're comparing it to the jibber-jabber of John Key. The jibber-jabber that we get daily in this house, it doesn't make sense. I'm having great difficulty understanding anything the man says these days. Well, John Key, we're coming after you because we're going right to your heartland. And Andrew Little, combined with a number of our members, are right out there amongst the businesses of New Zealand. And you know what they're saying, Mr Speaker? They're saying this is a breath of fresh air. We have got politicians willing to listen. They're willing to engage. And they're saying we want to engage with Labour because this is a tired government we have now got. And when I came back into the House for the first day on Tuesday, all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, wanting to be back in here debating with the members opposite, what did I see? I saw some dull eyes, some weary, uninterested ministers, and some very bored backbenchers. They were far too important to be wasting their time sitting around in this Parliament. We get dismissive answers, we get evasive behaviour. They are, Mr Speaker, a third-term government, and they've got third-term-itis. You know, I went through the Prime Minister's statement. I was looking to be uplifted by the power of his words. I was looking for his vision and a program and an agenda that would take New Zealand forward to address some of those issues that are closing in on us rapidly. What did I find? I found a skite sheet from a dirty flash government. That's what my mother would call them, a dirty flash government. You see, they flash on the outside. Plenty of photos of themselves, little selfies at every occasion, wearing the appropriate clothes for whatever it is, if you're at the cricket or if you're at the rugby or if they're big gay out. You know, appearances and smoozing and endless reports and committees. That is the dirty flash government. Flash on the outside, but just look inside this government. And they're enmeshed in sleazy deals, cover-ups and poor standards of governance and the shallow leadership of John Key. He now only fronts up if he looks good. Otherwise, it has to be the faceless Mr Eagleson. the CEO of the Prime Minister's office, the guy who is the fall guy for every mistake the Prime Minister makes. And I have to wonder how this poor man has ever kept his job, because he's been blamed for so many cock-ups that he ought not to be still in the job. Whenever the Prime Minister fails to know about something, oh, his CEO forgot to tell him. He didn't tell him on time. He waited 2 weeks. It slipped his mind. Well, I think that the truth's going to come out, a different version's going to come out in the future. I think the truth will come out when Mr Eagleson takes up his new job in the business sector. And then we will find out how he became the fall guy for a Prime Minister who would not front up to his own foibles. You know, for years the National Party has banged on about a divided Labour Party. Well, I've got bad news for the government. We have got our act together. We are a united team behind Andrew Little and some very talented members of Parliament who are determined to take this government on. But you know what I'm observing, Mr Speaker, and it happens over time with a government that's been around for a while and got too cocky. The instability starts to rise in their own party. You know, some of us have been around long enough, we've seen it all. The instability in our party and the growing instability in their own party. You only have to look at Judith Collins. Judith Collins was the fall guy for the Prime Minister during the election campaign. And you know what she's doing now, Mr Speaker? She is talking to the ACT Party about joining them. She's talking to the ACT Party about joining them because she knows she will never be the leader of the National Party. And I have to say, I stopped for a moment when I heard that. I was told by a very reliable source. I had to stop for a minute and I thought, my God, imagine the co-leadership of that party. When Judith's on board, you'd have the captain and the cabin boy together. That would be the leadership of the ACT Party. What we are seeing, Mr Speaker, is a widening rift between Bill English and the Prime Minister. Bill English is a hard-working, decent man with principles, and I've always admired Bill English because I know he lives his principles and he believes them. And he now has to deal with a Prime Minister he once said bounces from cloud to cloud. But unfortunately for Bill English and his colleagues, John Key now bounces from cloud cuckoo to cloud cuckoo land. That's what is happening to the Prime Minister. You can't believe what he says any longer. Then we have Nick Smith. They put him up to front their inadequacies in housing policy. They think if he talks long and loud, thank you, Mr Speaker, if he talks long and loud enough, we won't remember what the message was. Poor old Nick Smith, totally isolated in his own party, scoffed at by his own colleagues. And then we get to Stephen Joyce, the most talked about man behind his back in the caucus. He is widely disliked for his arrogance and his bullying. You see, I actually quite like him, but then I don't have to share the cabinet room with him. But members opposite, in the widening rift between them, can see this man wants the top job, but others have got their eye on it. The woman who's just sat down, Paula Bennett, she is so puffed up now because some bloggers wrote she is taken over from Judith as the next leader of the National Party. Well, of course, she's eyeing Stephen Joyce, nudging each other out of the way, trying to find their place as the next leader of the National Party. What we have seen over these last 6 years is a passing parade of ministers who have left, who were incompetent, who were involved in underhand activities and cover-ups. And Mr Speaker, I'm very disappointed that you're not still in a ministerial role, a man of integrity and hard work, but I can't say the same for those who have come and gone. You see, this government doesn't have any solutions. What they have is just jibber-jabber. Jibber-jabber, that's what we'll call them, the jibber-jabber government, and we're going to see plenty more of it. Every speech I have listened to in this debate has been nothing more than a whole lot of slogans that do not address the issues facing us. Where are the real solutions to the problem in Iraq? All we are doing is putting up our hands and saying, wherever the US goes, we go. Why not put down some real concrete things we could do to help the people in Iraq, to help those who need humanitarian aid, those who need medical assistance, those who need refuge from that country? What do we get? Yes, if America invites us, we will go. Well, let's be honest and open with the public of New Zealand. Real policies, real debate. I'm not expecting it from this government.
The Honourable Joe.